Hey everybody, and welcome to another edition of Board Games Hitting My Table. This is where I talk about all of the games that I have been playing. This episode covering the second half of December 2024. And as expected, I've not played too many kind of heavy strategy games. These have mostly been lighter games of the party style because, of course, I've been playing with family and stuff over the Christmas period. But before I get started on these games, I want to give a shout out to the show's sponsor, KIENDA.co.uk, who are my go-to online retailer. And if you use the link in the show notes or the QR code, then you can get 5% off your first order. But let's start with a game that is really making its own place in my collection, regularly hitting the table. This is Spectacular. So Spectacular, one of the newest nature-themed kind of puzzly tile placement style games. In this one, you are combining your tile placement with dice drafting, populating these tiles with dice to score points in different ways. I've just started to introduce the extra missions you can put onto this side to increase the complexity and burn your brain in that extra degree as well. But at the moment, I really can't get enough of this game. I think it's wonderful. It scales so well, it plays so quickly, but offers a lot of choices in that short play time. So yeah, if you like your puzzly little games, this one is a great one to go for. That is Spectacular. I have played some two-player games, the first of which being Marabunta. I think I played this one recently, and it was a super tight game. I think we actually ended up drawing on like 4 of the different regions, and it was just like a point or two that was the difference. One of my favourite games of last year, that's for sure. Marabunta, a great hybrid between the I Split You Choose and the area control mechanisms, and those two mechanisms blend surprisingly well. A game that keeps hitting the table for me is Lost Seas. So I actually only picked this game up as a kind of a way to top up my basket to make sure that I wasn't paying postage. And this has ended up being a surprise hit for me. Whoever I've played this with have tended to have a good time playing it. It's a very simple tile drafting game where you are placing these different kind of nautical symbols in rows and columns, trying to achieve these different goals and objectives that are on the border of your little grid. You can go really difficult, and it is just that, it's very difficult to achieve the harder mode, or you can do a good blend of the two. But what I really like about this game is that it's kind of no frills, it's simple drafting, simple little placement of your tiles to try and score everything. But you can even mix it up yourself and change the way you draft the tiles. I think this game comes with an official way of playing it, where if you're playing with, I think, 2 or 3 players, then the first player chooses the tiles to get rid of. I do away with that mechanism. I think it gamifies things a little bit too much. But you can even mess around with it further than that if you want to, or if you want to add more autonomy into the gameplay. It's up to you, because the tile drafting is kind of inconsequential. It's all about how you place them. But lovely little game, one of the surprise hits of the year for me. That is Lost Seas. A couple of party games here that I played on Christmas. Just one. Brilliant game. Tailor's again, up to 7 players. We played it at 6 players. Works really well. We didn't count scores or anything like that. We just ended up just playing it until we got bored. Rafter 5. This was quite a funny one. I think some of my opponents had a bit of a hard time and were knocking all those little chests down quickly. One of the best little dexterity games out there. Super fun. That one went down quite well too. Some other games we played on Christmas were Kodama and Trio. So Kodama, up to this point, I'd only played it at, I believe, 4 players, which works fine, but it does work a lot better when you start introducing that 5th or 6th player. This one, you are basically wagering on yourself whether you have the highest total number of cards, but if you've got the lowest card, then you also add the card that's in the center of the table. And as you can imagine, as people are swapping cards in the hand or swapping the card in the middle, then that value can really fluctuate, and it could be a point or 2 between the difference of the winner or the loser, and then you bet on yourself if you think you are going to win or not. If you're not, you're going to sit out but not lose any points. If you go all in and you win, you're going to win everybody's tokens as well. It works really well. I mean, the decision space is wafer thin, but it works and it's quite engaging. Trio is a game I've been playing a lot of actually recently. This one is so good in this kind of setting. If you're just trying to dive into people's hands and find trios of cards, it's basically a memory match game with some but instead of the cards being in the centre of the table, the cards are in people's hands instead. And you can only ever find the highest or lowest cards in people's hands. And for the first time ever, I managed to find a trio of 7s and ended up winning the game instantly. So I've never done that before, so it was quite nice to have that kind of shoot the moon mechanism actually work out. Another small little commodity speculation game. Vegetable stock. I think we played this one at 3 players, maybe 4 players. I think I did terribly actually. I ended up getting a really low score as those markets crashed just on my turn. And just talking about terrible performances, I played a 2-player game of Harmonies. And normally I do quite well at Harmonies, but this time I was getting nothing that was working out for me. Made lots of mistakes. I ended up scoring my lowest score ever, and it was just an absolute car crash. But I still love the peaceful nature of this game. I think it's really enjoyable, lovely little kind of token placement, kind of puzzly style game. Speaking of puzzly games, we played a 4-player game of Kodama Forest, and this one kind of continues to impress me. Now, I wasn't expecting much from it. Obviously, it's a cutesy style game that my girlfriend picked up from the Games Expo. But each time I play it, I think, you know what, I do like this game. It's a very simple polyomino style game as you're trying to fill up your boards basically quicker than your opponents do, but you work with your neighbours by sharing a board each. Whenever you touch particular features together, then you'll get these bonus tiles which will help you fill up your board even quicker. I think between the 4 of us, we managed to do extremely well and almost fill up everything on all of our boards. And it was just a point or 2 that made the difference. But still, if you want a polyomino style game that scales so well, I mean, this one tailors up to 6 players, only takes around 30 minutes to play. This is a really good option, and I think it's quite underrated actually. That is Kodama Forest. I played some Veil of Eternity. Absolutely brilliant little tableau builder card game, and much like Harmonies, I'm thinking I'm normally quite good at this game, but I had an absolute car crash. I just could not get any points engine going. My opponent did, and I ended up finishing the game on like 40 points or something when my opponent finished. So yeah, just wasn't quite working out for me, but hasn't tarnished my view on this at all. I think it's a brilliant little card game. That is Veil of Eternity. More puzzly games now. I revisited Framework, so it's been a while since I played this one. My appetite to play it had slightly waned. I'm not quite sure why, but I thought, you know, I had the urge to play it, and I'm glad I did, because it really did revitalise my enjoyment of this game. I only played it at 2 players, which was nice because there was hardly any downtime. A really cool little puzzly system as you're trying to place all these tiles optimally to trigger off each other. You know, certain goals want to be touching certain frames and so on, and I love the way that all these different objectives interlock with each other with each placement. It's a brilliant puzzle and so distinct to anything else out there, and yeah, it's kind of a forever keeper for me, and my favourite way of playing these Nova Luna Framework style games. This is my favourite one. A game I hadn't played for a long time. I played this at a Christmas party. This is When I Dream. So I actually had this one on my sell pile, but I thought, you know what, it's a good chance to bust this one out because I think we had 10 players at this party. This one does tailor up to 10. This is such a cool party game, but I sadly very rarely have the chance to play it. This one is a word association game where one person is wearing a blindfold and is trying to guess the magic word. Everyone's giving clues, but some players are fairies who have got to give correct clues. Some are the boogeymen who are trying to give incorrect clues to kind of guide them away from the answer. And you've also got the sandmen who are trying to keep the balance between the two. And throughout the game, we had a good mix of all the different categories doing well for each other. I think it went down well, at least from my perspective. And it was nice to get this one played probably before I give it a send-off, because it's just not hitting the table very often. And playing it once a year isn't really good enough to keep it around. So that is When I Dream. And a couple more that I played on Christmas Day. Number one, we played a 6-player game of Rapido. So I think this is the first time I've ever played it at 6. and it does take a bit longer, but there is some good interaction, and despite having a kind of a bit of a lull in the middle of the game where we're all kind of crawling the stairs really slowly, right at the end, myself and it was my dad actually, we had a kind of a neck and neck race right at the end, and I think I just managed to lose, and my dad just squeezed the win. It was quite fun. I love this little dice rolling game, but I think maybe 6 is a little bit overkill. I would say 4 players is the sweet spot, but nice that you can have that flexibility to play it with that many players, should you wish to. And the final game I'm talking about today is again another party one, Wits and Wagers. Another game I don't play very often because you do want more players, but still this is such a brilliant trivia game. We played this one a couple of times back to back, and weirdly there seems to be a theme here. I'm normally quite good at Wits and Wagers. I think I had 2 games back to back when I finished with no money at all. It just wasn't going well, and I did terribly, to be honest. But still love this little guesstimation style game, as you are guessing an answer which is pretty difficult to know the answer to, and then you're betting on other players on if you think their answers are right, or you can even bet on yourself if you like. But it's nice that you can play this game and do well, even if you're not very good at trivia, and still definitely one of the best party games out there, full stop. So that is Wits and Wagers. Great fun to get that onto the table, and I'm probably going to play it some more by the end of the year. So that's it really, that's all the games that I've been playing. Again, most of these are lighter because, again, of who I'm playing these games with, and not regular gamers, that's for sure. But still, love a good mix of, not only Euros, but also some nice light party games as well. But I did have a nice chance to play games like Veil of Eternity, Marabunta and Spectacular, just for that extra gaminess. So hopefully you've enjoyed this video. If you have, please be sure to hit like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other content too, and for everybody else, I'll see you next time on Chairman of the Board. Bye bye.